Episode 14, Living the New Truth. Previously on The Cracked Plate, Jimmy and Mia began rewriting the stories they've told themselves for years, replacing limiting beliefs with new empowering ones. Jimmy embraced the idea that he is worth staying for, while Mia opened herself to the possibility that trust, though risky, is worth rebuilding. But as they attempt to move forward, the challenge of living out their new truths looms ahead. Jimmy sat in his car outside the cafe, his fingers drumming nervously on the steering wheel. He glanced at the notebook resting in the passenger seat, its pages filled with affirmations and reminders from his sessions with Olivia. I am worth staying for. People leave for their reasons, not because of me. He repeated the words silently, trying to believe them as he prepared to meet Mia. Inside the cafe, Mia sat at a small corner table, fidgeting with the edge of her journal. Jenna's voice echoed in her mind. Trust takes time, but not everyone is here to hurt you. Some people are willing to stay if you let them in. She took a deep breath as she saw Jimmy walk in, their eyes meeting across the room. This was the first time they were meeting since both had rewritten their narratives, and the weight of their past felt heavier than ever. Jimmy slid into the seat across from Mia, offering a small smile. Thanks for meeting me. Mia nodded, her expression cautious but open. Of course, I think it's important. There was a brief silence before Jimmy spoke. I've been working on not letting fear control me. It's hard though. Every time I think about us, that old voice creeps in, telling me I'll mess it up again. Mia tilted her head. What do you do when that voice shows up? Jimmy hesitated. I remind myself it's not true, that I'm trying, and that's what matters. But it's easier to write it down than to live it, you know? Mia gave a small laugh. Yeah, I do. I've been trying to tell myself that trust is worth the risk, but every time I think about giving it, I feel like I'm stepping into quicksand. Jimmy leaned forward. So, what do we do? How do we stop falling back into old patterns? The next day, Jimmy sat with Olivia in their one-on-one session. He recounted the conversation with Mia, his voice tinged with frustration. It's like I know what I need to do, but when I'm actually in the moment, the fear takes over. Olivia nodded. That's normal, Jimmy. Change isn't about flipping a switch. It's about practicing new behaviors until they feel natural. When fear shows up, what do you typically do? I freeze, Jimmy admitted, or I try to push through it, but it feels forced. Olivia smiled gently. Fear is like a wave. If you fight it, it knocks you down. But if you ride it, it eventually subsides. What if, instead of fighting the fear, you acknowledged it and chose to act anyway? Jimmy stared at her, the concept both simple and profound. So, let the fear be there, but don't let it stop me? Exactly, Olivia said. That's living the new truth, not waiting for the fear to disappear, but choosing to move forward despite it. At Jenna's house, Mia sat on the couch with Jenna, replaying the cafe meeting in her mind. I told him I was trying to trust, but the moment he started opening up, I felt myself pulling back. Jenna handed her the emotional menu book, open to a chapter on vulnerability. That's the fear talking, Mia. Trust isn't about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to feel the fear and still choose connection. Mia sighed, running her fingers through her hair. But what if I get hurt again? Jenna pointed to a highlighted passage. Hurt is part of life, but healing only happens when you're willing to let others in. Mia closed her eyes, the words sinking in. So, it's not about avoiding hurt. It's about trusting that I can handle it if it happens. Jenna smiled. Exactly. You've done the work to rewrite your story. Now it's time to live it. Later that week, Jimmy texted Mia, there's an art show downtown this weekend. Want to go together? Mia stared at the message, her heart racing. Her first instinct was to say no, to retreat into the safety of her space. But Jenna's words echoed in her mind. Trust isn't fearlessness, it's bravery. She typed back, sure, let's do it. Closing scene. Jimmy and Mia strolled through the art gallery, the atmosphere filled with quiet conversations and soft music. They moved cautiously, each moment feeling like uncharted territory. Jimmy paused in front of a painting, his voice soft. This one reminds me of us. It's messy, but there's something beautiful in the chaos. Mia glanced at the abstract piece, the swirls of color clashing and blending. Yeah, it's unfinished, but it's still art. For the first time, they both smiled, not out of certainty, but out of a shared willingness to try. As Jimmy and Mia continue to navigate their new truths, they face a pivotal moment that tests their commitment to growth. Will they rise to the challenge, or will their old fears resurface?